or the United States, but not in Pakistan. They couldn't even wait for the stooge courts to wipe out their charges before installing them in Prime Minister House. Shehbaz Sharif is on bail for a money laundering charge that, as I say, would make your eyes water, involving hundreds of millions. His co-accused is his son. They were in Britain or the United States, but not in Pakistan. They couldn't even wait for the province, the Punjab. You couldn't make this up. The proximate reason for the overthrow of Imran Khan was that he lost a rigged no confidence motion in the Pakistan National Assembly, where overnight 20 members of his ruling party defected to the opposition. They were procured by the opposition as part of an American regime change operation. What was the reason for that regime change operation? It's obvious, and it can be summed up in just 2 words: absolutely not. When Imran Khan was asked, would Pakistan be joining the Western organized sanctions and quarantine, embargo, a siege on Russia, Imran Khan said absolutely not. These 2 words signed his political death warrant. But he's coming back from the dead. Of that I am absolutely certain. Because when they overthrew him, they misunderestimated, as George W. Bush would put it, the great people of Pakistan. When Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister, in Prime Minister's house in Islamabad right now, for the moment, said Pakistan is a nation of beggars and beggars can't be choosers, he signed his political death warrant. The people of Pakistan have arisen in a kind of revolutionary upheaval. Numbers on the streets that have never been seen before, from Peshawar to Karachi, and then the Lion of Lahore, Imran Khan, addressing a truly mammoth rally at the Red Fort in Lahore, one of my favorite cities in the whole world, in which I spent many, many, many happy hours. Imran Khan will be back because this flimsy piece of cardboard cutout government, whose only support lies in Washington, not even in the European Union, not even in Britain. The Foreign Office Minister, Zach Goldsmith, deplored, decried the overthrow. He was slapped down by Boris Johnson, but he wasn't sacked for doing so. The only mainstay for this puppet government in Islamabad at this point in time, although by the morning it could all be different, is the United States of America. And it shows just how flimsy American power in the Eurasian heartland actually is. They couldn't find anyone decent. They couldn't find anyone who's on a criminal charge. They couldn't find anyone who's not on bail to replace Imran Khan. They've turned back to an old guard which is utterly discredited in Pakistan and will be swept away. And I'm doing and saying all this not because I'm a PTI loyalist. I'm very far from that. I have never supported Imran Khan in the past, but I am supporting him now for Pakistan in this one singular demand: elections now. This is the only way to solve the crisis which runs the risk of having Pakistan, a country of 220 million people, and armed with nuclear weapons, and geostrategically placed in an exceedingly fragile place in the world. The only way to stop a helter-skelter all the way to hell for Pakistan is to hold a free and fair election. Now, I have differences, political differences, with Imran Khan. One of those is his fidelity to the institutions of Pakistan that have repeatedly caused the overthrow and the coup d'etat of government after government after government in Pakistan. One of the reasons why I'm opposing this coup is because I opposed all the coups that came before it, whoever was the beneficiary of it. I'm against having an army that can overthrow governments. I'm against having an army that can tell the courts to overthrow governments. I'm against having an army that can tell the president to dismiss the prime minister. And I have said so and acted on that over decades. I opposed the overthrow of Benazir Bhutto. I opposed the overthrow of Nawaz Sharif, the brother of Shahbaz Sharif, and I oppose it when it's done to Imran Khan. So I'm not here asking anyone to vote for Imran Khan or for the PTI. I am, though, demanding that the Pakistani people have a right to vote, to choose their own government, and to choose it before it's too late, before the country has slipped out of control. Mr. Babar, we're still waiting on that Zoom address. If you're watching, you better hurry up, because this is an opportunity of a massive audience tonight, mainly a Western audience, to which Imran Khan can make his case. We've got a poll running. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? A, yes. B, no. That is the poll, and I'm told it's gone off like the proverbial rocket. Now, let me turn to France. Just in the last minute, I've learned from our editor holding up a piece of paper with biro writing on it. I hope I read it correctly. My eyesight's not what it was, but it seemed to say that Macron had won with 58% of the vote. I don't know if that's more or less than he won by last time. I suspect it is less. It's certainly nothing to write home about when your only opponent was the leader of a far-right nationalist front whose father was deeply implicated in the Vichy fascist regime, which ruled by German fiat in the occupied French homeland from 1940 to 1945. My new book's out, by the way. I'll show it to you later, which deals with the counterfactual history of that period. So it's nothing to boast about to beat a Le Pen 58, presumably to 42. And if my candidate, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, had got into the second ballot, and if the idiots of the French Communist Party and the idiots of the French Trotskyite fragments and the idiots of the so-called French Socialist Party, who got less than 2% of the vote, had backed Mélenchon, this choice would have been between Mélenchon and Macron, and Mélenchon would have won in a landslide. Idiots, all of you, go and sit in the corner with your dunce's hats on. But Mélenchon will be leading a bloc in the French parliamentary elections just 1 month from now. And all the indications are that he will lead the biggest bloc in the French National Assembly. Prime Minister Jean-Luc Mélenchon, my friend, has a ring to it. If we get Imran Khan back in, that'll be 2 prime ministers that are friends of mine that will be sitting in prime ministerial accommodation. I very much hope so. I don't know how that poll is going, but it's big, and it's yes, 91%. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? Yes, 91%, no, 9%. My goodness. And there's a record-breaking number of votes already, and it's only 17 minutes past the hour. Are you watching, Mr. Baba? 13,700 votes. No sign of Imran Khan yet. Let me turn to Gonzalo Lira. I said rather sonorously last Sunday that I feared for the safety and even the life of the citizen journalist Gonzalo Lira, who had disappeared on a week past Friday and had failed to show for his interview with us last Sunday. He had earlier said that if we didn't hear from him within 12 hours, we should put his name on a list of those who have been disappeared, presumed and actually in some cases murdered by the fascist hordes, the Black Hundreds that underpinned the coup regime in Kiev. As the week went on, we became more and more convinced, looking at the exaltation of various fascist sites on Twitter and elsewhere, that Gonzalo Lira had been murdered, and indeed murdered in a most foul way. And I'm very glad to say that that turned out to be false, because just 24 hours or so ago, after I had received anguished mail from Gonzalo's father in the United States, Gonzalo turned up alive. And we are going to be speaking to him in the course of the show. Gonzalo Lira is one of very few people who are actually bringing us any news at all about the war in Ukraine. The rest are bringing us propaganda from the watering holes of Kiev. They're not even venturing into the places they are reporting about. But Lira is, or rather was, on the streets of Kharkov, which is now very definitely a war zone. The battle for Kharkov has begun. And like the rest of the battles, it will only end one way. It's better, therefore, that it ends quickly and by negotiation. And the United Nations Secretary General Guterres is on the aeroplane headed for Turkey, where he'll engage in talks with President Erdogan, then to Kiev to talk with President Zelensky, and then to Moscow, where he will talk with President Putin and Foreign Secretary Mr. Lavrov. I earnestly hope, that a peace agreement can be reached as a result of this initiative, too little, maybe too late, definitely, by the United Nations, who have been more or less silent throughout the 5-6 weeks of this conflict. I hope that peace will come. I fear that it will not, because I don't think that the administration of Joe Biden has any wish for this war to come to an end. I believe that NATO, which is just another name for the United States of America, is ready to fight to the last drop of Ukrainian blood, to see the last building in the last city in Ukraine fall to the ground in rubble. I believe, as I believed from the beginning, that this is a proxy war of the United States against the Russian Federation. In which case, I hope they were paying a good deal of attention to the Russian launch of their new hypersonic intercontinental ballistic missile, nicknamed Satan II. It carries multiple nuclear warheads and is unimpeachable, simply cannot be intercepted. It cannot be intercepted because it moves at 10 times the speed of sound. Think of Concorde and then think of 10 times faster than that. If launched on the Russian steppe, it would arrive in London, Birmingham, Manchester, and Glasgow all at the same time, 6 minutes after launch. 6 minutes after leaving Russian territory. And it would be the end. Britain would be a smoking ruin, and almost all of us would be dead. I hope that those waving their frankly non-existent willies from London and Whitehall at the Russians are fully appraised of that. I hope that the United States is paying attention to the new Chinese space initiative, which changes the balance still further against the warmongers of NATO and in favor of the East. Well and truly, the sun is rising in the East. It didn't have to sink in the West, metaphorically speaking. We could have got alongside the rising sun in the East. We could have done business with them. Instead, we have chosen to make war against them. And it's a war that we cannot win. For the moment, for most of us, it's an economic war. It's an economic war that we cannot win either. The Russian economy has got up off the floor and is booming, and the American and British economies are heading for the floor. It is a classic case of struggling mightily to lift a huge stone only to drop it on your own feet. That's exactly what has happened. We'll be talking about all of that over the course of the next 3.5 hours. We'll take calls because there's no sign yet of Imran Khan. But here's the poll again. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on my Twitter account, on my YouTube channel. Do subscribe if you're there. And on my Telegram channel. And here's our numbers through which you can phone us completely free. 08 081 965522. That's if you're in the United Kingdom. 08 081 965522. If you're in the United States, it's also free of charge. It's +1 844 944 3344. You can email the show anytime at all at onair@moats.tv. Shall I go to the first call? Now I'll take a quick break, shan't I?
Yeah, hi, George. The deep state, we mentioned it before. So rather than fear-mongering that everything that's going on at the moment with the COVID, the wars, blah, 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 why aren't we all addressing the deep state rather than this fear-mongering that's going over and over again?
How do you address it?
What I'm trying to get across, and hopefully your listeners will understand this, there is a deep state at work, and you know that.
Everybody knows that. That's a statement of the bleeding obvious.
So what? Oh, so let's do something about that rather than rattling and rolling about the.
Give us a lead. Be our leader. Be our leader, Del.
Who are the deep states?
Yeah.
Oh, what a brilliant question. Those that are all over us. And what should we do about them? We should make them accountable.
I'm just trying to work out whether you're in the territory of shape-shifting lizards or you're talking about MI5 and MI6.
Please don't turn it into a circus, George. You know full well what's going on, and please don't.
I do. I'm just struggling to get from you what it is we should be doing about them. What should I do about MI5 and MI6? And how should I do it?
Just stand up and go, there's something inherently wrong here. And
there's something really wrong here. There you are. I've sorted it, Del. Thanks for the call.
You are listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway.
Who knew it was as easy to sort it as that caller made clear? Let me read some of the voluminous social media. Aline Nahal says there's nothing that can stop Imran Khan returning as Prime Minister of Pakistan. That too with a thumping majority. Time will affirm that the US initiated conspiracy only proved to be a blessing in disguise for Imran Khan's government and consequently for Pakistan. I absolutely agree with that, Aline. I think a 2/3 majority is on the cards, and it will be vital to do the right thing with that 2/3 majority. Sajjad Khan says Imran Khan is a sportsman. It's in his blood how to fight back. No one can undo the democracy in Pakistan, not even the USA, not even the sold-out Pakistan military. And Michelle says, I want to vote yes, but the US grubby hands are in the batter. Pakistani people may be able to overcome this. I'm hopeful. And Raphael Najendra says the dubious and hurried way of kicking Imran Khan out of office has grounded him to spring back even stronger. I agree with that, Raphael, and I'm not just saying that. It's not wishful thinking, it's my honest appraisal of the situation. Let's go to Canada for the first call. Arsene. Arsene in Canada, welcome to the mother of all talk shows.
Hi, George. How are you?
By the grace of God, good, sir. Thank you. What would you like to say? Yes, the whole world can hear you. Go on.
I was okay. I was told that Imran Khan is about to join you, right? Is he there yet? Can I talk to him? Can I ask him questions?
He's not here yet, but I'm not sure I can subject him to questions. We're still getting him up.
Okay.
But I'll ask him your question. If you ask it to me, ask it to me.
Okay, good. Okay, the first one, like he's not in power anymore, right? So because the current government because I'm from Canada, right? And they are taking back our right to vote, right, for overseas Pakistanis. And secondly, what I want to ask, like if he's running a campaign about this imported government, why don't he resign from all the national assemblies, and why don't he go nuts about it? This is my question.
Well, I'm not sure the second part of that question has any validity at all. Why is he not going nuts about it? Well, first of all, he's not the sort of man that goes nuts. He is, on the other hand, a very steely individual who is immediately focused on the task in hand, which is to mobilize the maximum number of people in Pakistan to force the stooge imported government to demit office and to hold a general election. And I predict to you, you might not like my prediction, but I mean it, that before the harvest is in, there will be new elections in Pakistan. And if they are free and fair and not rigged as many elections have been in the past, then Imran Khan will win a thumping majority. Look, the current Prime Minister is a stinker. Shahbaz Sharif is a stinker. His government are rotters. And the people of Pakistan deserve better than that. And they will have better than that. I can assure you of that. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? A yes, B, no. Will Imran Khan turn up soon for the show? I very much hope so. Le Pen has conceded in France, so Macron is the president for the next 5 years. I told you, Raphael. Siddiqui says even with the whole system against him, he will come back with people's support. Imran is one of Pakistan's favorite sons, and Pakistanis won't leave him ever. I spoke in Manchester in Piccadilly Gardens at the weekend. I think it was at the weekend, earlier this week anyway. And a very spirited gathering it was too. And on the screen behind me, there were millions of people on the streets of Lahore. The bot says, hi, this is a deal. The question is whether Mr. Imran will reform the judiciary after becoming the Prime Minister again. This has become very necessary in view of the current situation. If reforms are not made, then this will continue to happen again and again. I mean, Adil, the very words I said earlier. And Io Sant says, biggest problem for Imran Khan was infiltrators around him who play on both sides of the wicket. And they are still present around him. I'm sure he is aware of it. And I hope he makes sure that he will get rid of them as soon as possible. Well, I don't know the other infiltrators, but I'm well familiar with the infiltrator that sat as the governor of the Punjab. I don't know if he's still the governor, if he's been reinstated, but I hope he's not there for long. And I did warn Imran Khan years ago, in 2015, I think, that he would rue the day that he formed an alliance with Chaudhry Mohammad Sarwar, and rue it. Eventually, he did. And Bilal Fayaz says the key factor in bringing back Imran Khan is the social media. Pakistan army establishment has never faced such a challenge before. Imran Khan has politicized the whole nation. Youth, women, politics is every dinner table discussion. It's not an elite chess game anymore. That's the best text of the night, Bilal, so far, but there's a long way to go. Get voting on my Twitter, on my YouTube channel, and on my Telegram channel in our poll. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? Shall I go to Corinne in Peterborough? Corinne, always welcome.
Thank you very much, George, and I'm really grateful that you've allowed me to come back and speak with you again. I wanted to talk, and you have Gonzalo Lira on later, and I was really, like very many people, very sad when he didn't turn up on the show last time, and we were all very worried about him, and so many people decided to write to the embassies and world leaders and ask nicely if they could, just find out his whereabouts. And then shortly after that, he was released and, released back to his home.
Yeah, I think that may have helped, Corinne. Your efforts may well have helped, along with my own and many, many others. I wrote to the President of Chile. I wrote to the Foreign Minister of Chile. I wrote to the leader of the Communist bloc in the Parliament in Chile. I wrote to the Embassy of Chile in Poland, which was dealing with Ukrainian affairs. And I know that many, many people did. And thanks to God, this helped.
Such a good person to have done all that hard work.
Corinne?
And I want to thank you, and I want to thank all the other people as well who did that. Now, I have this belief that politicians listen to people because politicians always like to be popular, and politicians always like to be justified in their actions. And so I think that the only way that, I think that the only way we can end the war in Ukraine, because it does seem to be an awful lot of the meeting and not getting any results. But this time, let's hope there will be results, is that we the people, that's everybody listening, that's you, me, everybody listening, write to world leaders, and especially to President Biden, President Zelensky, and President Vladimir Putin, and our own presidents and leaders of our own countries, and say, please, we care about this war and we'd like to see it end. And just ask nicely, could you help bring about talks, peace talks, and then say thank you. Anyway, that's why I phoned in. I thought, if we could do, if all of us could made a change and got Gonzalo Lira, we could do this. Yes. And if we don't ask, we don't get.
Faith can move mountains, and God helps those that help themselves. Corinne, thanks. Terrific call from Peterborough. Ebrar is on the line, again from England, in Birmingham. Go ahead, Ebrar.
Thank you very much, George. I appreciate giving me some time to speak. Actually, George, we've got some history. We've crossed paths in the past at the University of Birmingham, if you remember, many years ago, with the Friends of Palestine. You came in 2009, I believe, 2009-10. I was with you, and I almost joined the Gaza flotilla. So it's a long time ago, but we crossed paths in the past. But today, I would like to just
I remember the meeting very clearly, Ebrar. It was quite
an interesting day.
Quite a tricky wicket.
Indeed. I'm glad you got away with the not out. Let's just say that. So, George, what it is,
Go ahead, Ibra.
I've come back to university after 8 years. I'm doing a PhD at the moment. And so naturally, I've become re-embroiled within the students. And so as I'm a slightly mature student, 2 weeks ago when Imran called on the people to come together, we in Birmingham and the Midlands felt actually we couldn't sit back. Even though we were comfortable in one way, we're able to enjoy a good life in the UK, thanks to the UK government for giving us many freedoms. But we as British Pakistanis and young people felt we needed to take a stand. So we set up something called the Pakistan Student Alliance in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Pakistan, mainly in support of Imran Khan, but actually more in support of good governance and focusing on those kind of ideals like equality and justice. Because we feel actually it's not a case of saying party A is bad or party B is bad. People can see that, but it's more a case of empowering the young people, educating the young people, so that actually the message that Imran Khan wants to portray gets across, which is the key thing, I think. So we had a protest.
I agree with
today,
you entirely. This is about, yeah, go on.
Sorry, just to I'll get to my point. Today we held our very first protest, a Midlands Pakistan Student Alliance protest, which actually is the first of its kind for any Pakistani students in the UK. And so we just wanted to come onto your show and to say, you know, we young people and we British people understand what's happening abroad. We can see corruption when it's black and white in front of you. We can see what good governance looks like coming from the West. And actually, we know what fairness and equality is. So please don't put someone in front of us as a new leader like Shahbaz Sharif.
I promise you, I promise you I will convey that to Prime Minister Imran Khan when he finally joins us. And well done for that activity. I myself will be speaking in Birmingham soon. I'm speaking in Oxford on Monday. But I hope a public meeting is now being organised in Birmingham in the Hall Green part of Birmingham. And so I might meet you there, Ibra. If you are free, do come along and make yourself known to me. The issue of good governance is at the heart of it. Pakistan has had good governance under Imran Khan, certainly by comparison with the rogues gallery that went before. And that rogues gallery is now back. As I said, the cabinet looks like the front page of the Police Gazette. It's like a wanted poster. Instead, it's a poster of the government of Pakistan. And no free people will put up with that. Pakistanis are not beggars. They are not slaves. They are a hard-working and intelligent people who have now the taste for democracy. And they will not allow it to be stolen from them. Of that, I am very sure indeed. And it looks like on the poll that overwhelmingly people agree with me. The previous record votes on one of our polls was 10,000. This one so far has 33,500 votes. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? A, yes, 95%, that's on Twitter. Yes, 95% on YouTube. And on Telegram, yes, 83%. A little more skeptical on the Telegram channel. No, 5% on Twitter. No, 5% on YouTube. No, 17% on Telegram. If you're one of those that voted no on Telegram or anywhere else, do call the show, because I'd like you to hear your reasoning. If you're in the United Kingdom, it's 08081 965522. If you're in the United States, it's +1 844 944 3344. You can email the show anytime at onair@moats.tv. I'll keep on taking calls. but I may have to cut callers off quickly if a certain Imran Khan comes on the line. I'm sure you'll understand. Hussein is in Italy. Go ahead, Hussein.
Hello, George. First of all, I want to say that I'm a huge fan of yours. Been following your shows and talks for a long time. And thank you for the opportunity. This is actually my first time calling on any TV show or live to a live audience.
Okay.
So first of all,
just take your time, then. Take your time.
Yeah, sure. All right. So we here in Italy, my family, we have been supporting Imran Khan for since 2010 or so, since he became a little bit more apparent on the Pakistani politics. And let me tell you, I've seen a lot of people converting from other corrupt parties to Imran Khan for guidance. And we are saddened for what has happened in Pakistan in the last month or so. The way the courts were open at 12 at the night, and the way all the institutions have turned against Imran Khan, it has saddened all us Pakistanis living abroad. And I just want to convey this message that we stand with Imran Khan all the way. And we will support him till the end, till he comes back with a 2/3 majority, and and bring change for good in Pakistan. That's my message to my Pakistan.
Well, I'll tell him that message. I'll tell him that message from Italy, Hussein. Thank you for it. Very moving indeed it was. You've touched on what is a political difference I have with Imran Khan. He continues to exalt some, at least, of the institutions which are, in fact, the fundamental problem in Pakistan. I've been involved in Pakistani politics for too long not to know and acknowledge them. And I'm going to call a spade a spade. I appreciate it's different if you're in politics in Pakistan, but you tune in here to this show to hear what I think is the truth. And what I think is the truth is that Pakistan's much vaunted institutions are rotten to the core, starting with the Chief of Army Staff. This coup could not have happened without his green light, and neither any of the other coups. I've lost track of them. When I became involved in Pakistani affairs, Zia-ul-Haq had just hanged the elected leader of Pakistan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. I have been involved since then, and the army have time after time after time after time negated or actually rigged the outcome of parliamentary elections. And the courts, to me, I'm sorry, are a joke. They are like a spoof Terry Thomas version of 1930s, 1940s England. We're not like that anymore. We might even be worse than that now. But we're not like that anymore. And for a reason. This window dressing of the rule of law, this window dressing of military subordination to the political leadership of the country is nonsense. It isn't true. And unless it's changed, then Pakistani leaders, however much support they have in the country, will continue to be disposed of. And moreover, like the Egyptian army, the top brass of the Pakistan army is bought and paid for by the United States of America. Imran Khan was disposed of just like that on a word from the United States of America. And the army wheeled into action, the Chief of Army Staff wheeled into action. Now he takes off his uniform, I think in the autumn, October or November of this year. If he doesn't want to be remembered in infamy, he'll make sure that a general election is held before then. Let me take a quick break, and I'll be right back. Peter says the Afghan people have lost, George. I thought you were better than this, to be honest. Give me a call, Peter. Tell me what you mean. And Oliver says, for some reason, George was on the jihadist side when it came to Yugoslavia. And that's the reason I will never trust him. I fought against the war on Yugoslavia with all my breath and all my heart. Me and Tony Benn and Jeremy Corbyn and others were practically the only people in this country opposing the war on Yugoslavia, the destruction of Yugoslavia. How dare you, you imbecile? If you have any guts, you'll pick up the phone right now and call this show and justify that utter slander. Really. And Yoda says, love the show. Best entertainment and education on the airwaves.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff. 30 minutes after the hour.
We need to acclimatise the public for the introduction of extraterrestrials, because come to the conclusion at this point, if they're going to come, they are going to come soon.
Back in the late 60s and early 70s, they actually saw the saucer land in front of them or pass by in New York or go overhead.
It went in front of my eyes up and turned into what looked like a star way up in the sky.
They said the same line that you just made, and it was amazing. It is an awful waste of space if we are all that there is.
All that there is. Exactly. Have you ever seen any of these phenomena?
I have seen energy entities. One looked like a massive jellyfish. The other one looked like a massive centipede.
Well, you had me up to that point. Now I just think you're stark raving mad.
You are listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway.
You're watching the mother of all talk shows, and we're still waiting for Prime Minister Imran Khan. I see that Mr. Shabazz from PTI has tweeted in the last few minutes that there was no scheduled appointment with me this evening. Unfortunately, Dr. Shabazz, I have all the correspondence. I have the booking. Don't make me publish it. Get Imran Khan on the line, please. It'll only take him 10 minutes, and it will be worth the trouble. He says that they'll rearrange something, but in the words of Tom Hagen, I never asked for a second interview when the first one has been declined. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? A, yes. B, no. There's a tremendous number of people voting on this, Mr. Shabazz Gill. Take a look at the voting. Mahmoud is in China. Let me hear from him. Mahmoud in China, welcome.
Hello, sir. It's good to see you talking about Imran Khan. I never imagined that he would be this much famous. Hello?
Well, I've known him for a very long time. He wasn't politically famous when I first met him. Of course, as a sporting hero, he was enormously iconic. But he has patiently, tenaciously, with great courage, built a massive political movement in Pakistan and amongst the diaspora all over the world. And you're in China, and I'm going to infer that you're a part of it.
Okay, I just wanted to say something. I don't know if I heard it wrong. You said he was removed because he said absolutely not on the issue of Russia. But it wasn't that. It was because he said absolutely not when a journalist asked him to if you will provide air bases to USA to help them with Afghanistan. So he said absolutely not.
He was just, of course. But he also said absolutely not to the sanctions on Russia. In fact, he made a very beneficial deal for the people of Pakistan, for Russian gas and for Russian wheat. And the United States cannot tolerate China with close relations, super close, with China and now with Russia at the same time, for the reasons of air bases, for the reasons of sanctions, for the reasons of Afghanistan, and the use of Pakistan once again as a launch pad for attacks on Afghanistan. It's because Imran said absolutely not on these things that he has been overthrown. Go ahead.
Okay, so now my question is, a lot of people in Pakistan, they don't believe on this change of government that it happened. It is done from USA, you know. So what do you think of this? Like, do you know about the letter that he received and stuff like that? Do you think it's true and he was removed just because of the pressure from? I
absolutely think it's true. Look, I've known many coups. Not just in Pakistan, but I suppose more of them in Pakistan than anywhere else. I know what a coup looks like. I know what a coup smells like and sounds like. And I know what a military-backed coup looks like and smells like. And if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And this is a duck, a regime change ordered by the United States, executed through the Chief of Army Staff, and utilizing the tools, the stooges of the discredited political parties. That's my view. Before I go to Kaiser in Glasgow, Ramin Shahzad, thanks for an informative show, George. Just wanted to say one thing. As a Pakistani, I'm happy to see we're now united as a nation. Imran Khan has made us forget all our differences. This imported government underestimated the power of Pakistanis. They did not predict that we could be this strong, and it's now time to show our strength. Our response to this illegitimate regime change is loud and clear from the Lahore Jalsa. We are not beggars, and we will not accept an imported government. And Tariq Ahmad says, what's UK and EU take on the regime change? Silence was golden, Tariq. Syed says, how does Imran Khan expect to come back when almost everyone in the country, including the establishment, judiciary, and election committee, is against him? Well, everyone except all the millions on the street, Syed. Let's go to Kaiser in Glasgow. Go ahead, Kaiser.
Hi, George. How you doing?
Good, brother. Nice to hear from you. What would you like to say?
Yes. George, I'm listening to you for a number of years in this country, in UK. Well, it's a pleasure to have talking to you right now. Right. Obviously, Imran Khan is not there. And I'll leave the message with you.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, of course. Right. If he comes in and if I have enough time for you to put my message through, the first message I have to say to him is loud and clear, is number 4 gate in Pakistan have to be closed. If not closed, if without Imran Khan's permission, we are going through as a public, as the innocent Pakistanis, because we all feel wounded and hurt. And the second one is, we had a big project in Pakistan, including myself, of building 500 rooms in Gilgit-Baltistan. And I put that on hold. And I will not spend or none of my colleagues or businessmen people in this country will not send a £1 into the country until Imran Khan is back. And the third,
I think that's. I mean, if I had any money, Kaza, I certainly wouldn't be investing it to a country run by Shahbaz Sharif, would you?
Of course not. Of course not. You know, believe me, George, we are Muslim League supporters from my dad to my granddad. My dad spent 3 years in a prison for Nawaz Sharif. Okay, so that's all changes. Like somebody just says to you, Imran Khan, bring the politics into the tables in the hotel rooms, into the living rooms. It's not a public politics in the parliaments anymore. And we will decide, we will be the Supreme Court, we will be the High Commissioner, we will be the Election Commissioner, whoever they are. If this is not sorted, we are going through their doors without Imran Khan's permission. That's where we're standing right now.
Well, that's very powerful talk, Kazar. If we get Imran, I'll certainly convey that to him. We don't want any violence, of course. What we want is mass political power. You know, when you can gather people in the millions, and when that becomes the tens of millions, that's a human tide that will sweep all before it. And not a blow needs to be struck. Not a window needs to be broken. I'll be back for the second hour right after this break with, I hope, Prime Minister Imran Khan. Keep your fingers crossed.
Voting has just closed in the French presidential election, with exit polls predicting a shock result. And I can tell you that the far-right Marine Le Pen has been narrowly defeated by incumbent Emmanuel Macron. French voters were faced with two very different visions for their country during Sunday's presidential runoff election, as the centrist President Macron sought to fend off a challenge from Le Pen. Macron pitched a vision of a globalised France at the head of a strong European Union. Le Pen put forward an economical, nationalist, more inward-looking platform that would represent a fundamental shift from the direction France has since taken since the Second World War. This was a rematch of the 2017 contest where Macron bested Le Pen by nearly 2-1. This one is predicted to be much closer. Macron's attempt at diplomacy over the war in Ukraine took him away from the campaign trail, while Le Pen was forced to backtrack on her previous support for President Vladimir Putin. She has long been a vocal admirer of the Russian president, even visiting him during her 2017 campaign, and her party took out a loan from a Czech Russian bank several years ago. Le Pen put herself in a strong position by focusing on costs of living issues, veering away from the typical far-right platform focused on immigration, security and identity that dominated her 2017 campaign. However, she did not abandon some of her most controversial policies, like banning Muslim women from wearing headscarves in public. Removing Prime Minister Boris Johnson from Downing Street would lead to instability and uncertainty in the country, according to the Conservative Party's chairman. The Prime Minister has come under increasing pressure from MPs after being fined by the police for attending a party in Number 10 during the first lockdown. Some senior Tories have now joined opposition calls for Prime Minister Johnson to go. Oliver Dowden said changing leader right now would not be in the national interest. The party chairman said the UK faced unparalleled challenges over national security and energy supplies, and it was right for the Prime Minister to focus on that. Labour Party leader Sir Keir Starmer said the PM's authority was shot through and the so-called Partygate scandal was stopping Parliament discussing issues like the cost of living crisis. The SNP's Westminster leader Ian Blackford also said Mr Johnson now had no moral authority to lead after being fined for COVID-breaking laws. Last week, Mr Johnson, along with his wife Carrie and Chancellor Rishi Sunak, were fined by police for attending a birthday party thrown in his honour in the Cabinet Room in June 2020. Labour is calling for an emergency budget in Britain to bring forward measures to tackle the costs of the living crisis. Surges in fuel, energy and food prices are hitting people's pockets, with inflation running at a 30-year high. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer says the government's response had been woeful and demanded further measurements like a windfall tax on energy firms. A Downing Street source said the government focused on growing the economy, adding the Queen's speech, where the government outlines its future policies, was coming up and those issues were utterly central to what the government is trying to do. The SNP called for an emergency budget earlier this month, saying the Tories had ignored the cost of living crisis brewing under its watch. Labour's Angela Rayner has condemned a sexist and misogynistic Mail on Sunday article which claims Tory MPs have accused her of a basic instinct ploy to distract Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The original Mail on Sunday story likened Rayner's alleged ploy to a fully clothed equivalent of Sharon Stone's infamous scene in the film Basic Instinct. The Prime Minister tweeted in response to the article, quote, "As much as I disagree with Angela Rayner on almost every political issue, I respect her as a parliamentarian and deplore the misogyny directed at her anonymously today." The story, which reported that Conservative MPs have accused Labour's deputy leader of deliberately distracting the Prime Minister by crossing and uncrossing her legs, has received a huge backlash following its publication. Posting a dignified response to the article on social media on Sunday morning, Rayner thanked those for criticising the piece and making a stand in the name of decency. Nigerian police are looking for the owner of an illegal oil refinery where an explosion has killed at least 100 people, according to local authorities. Many victims were burned beyond recognition. President Muhammadu Buhari has described the incident as a catastrophe and a natural disaster. Illegal refining is attractive in parts of the Niger Delta as it is seen as being relatively easy to pull off, despite efforts to halt the practice. The damage to fishing and farming caused by the oil industry over the decades and the failure to share the oil wealth has led some to find other ways to make money. Dozens were thought to have been working at the refined plants in Imo State, southern Nigeria, when they were caught in the huge fire. The death toll has risen as emergency workers go through the scene, with the number killed now standing at 109. At least 10 people have been killed after a tourist boat went missing off the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido, the Japanese Coast Guard says. The search is continuing in the frigid waters for 16 others who were on board the Kazu 1 vessel. Contact with the boat was lost after it said it was taking on water at 1:15 p.m. local time on Saturday. The Kazu 1 is believed to have been on a 3-hour sightseeing voyage around the Shirakato Peninsula. The area is an undesignated UNESCO World Heritage Site, and boat trips are popular with tourists hoping to spot whales and sea lions, as well as brown bears on the rocky beaches. The crew managed to signal the vessel was tipping to a 30-degree angle and starting to sink, according to Japanese media. Of the 26 on board, 2 were crew and 2 were children. And finally, a woman had to be rescued by firefighters after falling into a toilet while trying to find her mobile phone that had accidentally been dropped in. The woman, who was not named, was at the top of Mount Walker in the Olympic National Forest, northwest of Seattle, Washington State, when the incident occurred near a car park. She had been using her phone when it suddenly fell into a vault toilet, which is a non-flush toilet which is constructed with a vault or seal container that is buried deep in the ground. The local fire chief said the woman managed to take the toilet seat off and dog leads to try and get the phone. When this didn't work, she used the leads to tie herself to the toilet as she reached for it. But this resulted in her falling in head first. The woman tried to get out for 10 to 15 minutes as she was on her own. She managed to call 911 after being reunited with her phone in the toilet. Firefighters passed her block to stand on to reach a harness when they arrived and pulled her out of the vault. And on that sticky situation, I'm Elliot King.
and the mother of all talk shows. Join us at the College of Knowledge, where there are no tuition fees.
A staggering 43,100 people have voted on our poll. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? Hold that result. 48,000 people have voted on our poll. Will Imran Khan return as Pakistan Prime Minister? And it's bad news for the imported government. On Twitter, A, yes, 95%. B, no, 5%. On YouTube, yes, 95%. No, 5%. And on Telegram, only a little less. Yes, 83%. No, 17%. Get voting on that poll. No news from Islamabad, from the PTI, with whom we solemnly and carefully booked Imran Khan for tonight's show. Please don't try to imply otherwise. If there's been a mistake, man up to it. Don't try to divert the blame to us. Please, I ask with all respect. We love Imran Khan. We're trying to help Imran Khan. We're trying to be a platform that can inform people in Western countries exactly what happened in Pakistan, because they're certainly not going to learn it from the BBC or Sky or ITV or Channel 4 or the Daily Telegraph or the London Times. This is not just the only, but by far and away the biggest platform that Prime Minister Imran Khan could have appeared on in the English-speaking world. And there's still time for him to do that. Before I go to our next guest and switch gear a little, I need to encourage you again to make a donation. And I want to stress this point. I don't want a big donation. I really don't. I want you to give £1 or $1, even less than £1, to keep the mother of all talk shows going. We already lost the midweek extra, replaced by, from my living room, the Galloway show, free to air, no budget television. We lost the Moats extra for financial reasons. Don't make us lose the mother of all talk shows. Think where you'd be on a Sunday night if we were not here. Think how bereft of a different point of view you would be. So it is coming up on the screen. It is ever easier. Next week it'll be even easier. You can actually text your donation in from your phone. Now there's, I think, 10 tickets left for the Oxford showing of my film Killing Kelly in Oxford Town Hall tomorrow night. There it is, Oxford Town Hall, 7 p.m. Everybody in Oxford knows where the town hall is. It's a very grand building indeed, and also a building in which I've had some of my very best public meetings. So I think there's about 10 seats left. Please make sure you get them. Snap them up between now and tomorrow. My favorite, my bonnie lies over the ocean. It's Caleb Mopan, my former colleague and the founder and director of the Center for Political Innovation in the United States. He's basically seeking to build a party, a patriotic and socialist party in the United States of America. And I pray to God that he succeeds. Caleb, welcome to the show. It must be even more difficult in the United States in these heightened days of war fervor than it is here in Britain. But I've got to tell you, I think the Ukraine mania has begun to wear a bit thin on this side of the ocean. How goes it over on your side?
Oh, we're observing exactly the same thing. Just right now as we speak, we have an outreach team at the White House in Washington, D.C., handing out leaflets. Russia is not our enemy. Wall Street is. We've been doing that in New York City and around the country, and we are getting a very positive reaction from people. At the beginning, sure, there was this surge of emotions from mainstream media But that's starting to break. People are really sick of it on some level. And a lot of people are watching American news and saying, this looks an awful lot like propaganda. You know, every Russian is portrayed as a vicious, evil murderer. Every Ukrainian, even though some of them are Nazis and they have an official Nazi division, every Ukrainian is portrayed as a heroic fighter. American news is so obviously war propaganda at this point. A lot of people are sick of it and aren't buying it and are open to hearing another side. And that's why we've seen the big crackdown on voices like RT, on YouTube channels, and others who are daring to show the other side, because people are hungry for it. People are very, very hungry for it.
Yeah, I was going to turn to that latter issue, and I will, but let me look at, if you like, the corollary of that. The media, which has not been cracked down upon, is cracking up under the pressure of mass boycott. CNN Plus is to close when its audience reached 10,000 in the whole world. 10,000, and it's now closed down. The corollary is also true, isn't it? That it's not just that news that people might find more trustworthy cannot be found, but the official news nobody wants to watch.
Sure. I mean, Netflix is also losing subscribers. Elon Musk has become kind of a hero on social media because he's beating the drum about how obnoxious the pounding of woke ideology into the heads of the masses, whether it's from CNN, whether it's from Netflix, whether it's from the social media giants, is becoming. Average Americans are sick of this, and they're looking at the fact that the gas prices are rising. They're looking at the cost of food, and they're getting sick and tired of it. And, you know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of working class young people in the United States who bought into it. And during the pandemic, they went out and they protested and they rioted and they raged against racism and stood up against the police state. But now they're looking at their lives and saying, okay, a lot of windows were broken. Okay, a lot of anger has been made. A lot of social media posts have gone viral. But have our lives gotten any better? Have things really improved for American working families? And a lot of working people in the United States, a lot of working class youth are saying, no, they haven't really gotten better. And when it really gets down to it, wokeism is a false messiah. It's coming in and promising to rejuvenate the country, to offer redemption. If you just say all the right buzzwords and all the key phrases, you know, the curse hanging over U.S. society from its foundations of slavery and genocide of the Native Americans will somehow be lifted. But it's a false messiah, they're realizing, because at the end of the day, the problem is economic. The problem is the economic foundations, capitalism, and a system of production organized for profit. And you're not going to get rid of that with buzzwords. And you're not going to get rid of that with workshops, you know, where people talk about their emotions and feelings. You're going to have to address the economic foundations of the problem. And when it gets down to it, our leaders here in the United States do not care about the working class. They don't care about working families. Their only concern is enriching the profits of huge multinational corporations. And they are waging economic warfare around the world in the form of sanctions. They've escalated this Ukraine crisis, taking us to the brink of World War III. They don't care about the consequences for working people here or around the world. And the problems are in the economic foundations, not the buzzwords, not the phrases, not going back and adjusting Disney movies to make them politically correct. That's not going to solve the fundamental problem.
We truly are two hearts that beat as one, Caleb, and I thank you for that soliloquy, which could as powerfully have been made here in Britain and maybe in other European countries also. And particularly for what you said on that wave of outrage, that upsurge that took place over the last year or so in the United States. It went up like a rocket, but it came down just a burnt stick, didn't it? A lot of property trashed, but nothing changed at the end of it, because that doesn't bring change. Minding your pronouns doesn't bring political and economic change. And until people see that and unite with people who are maybe clumsy with their pronouns, or maybe clumsy with their attitude to the various sexual orientations that I increasingly discover exist, at least on rainbow flags and on Twitter and so on. There's ways of doing things I never knew existed. And fair play, let 1,000 flowers bloom. We want to interfere in no one's personal life. But until we can unite everybody against the one thing that oppresses everybody, we're not going to make any progress, are we?
Absolutely not. And the scary thing is that at this point, there is a pending global food crisis. You know, Ukraine is a wheat-producing country, and because of the conflict that the United States has provoked there and is now escalating, pouring more weapons in, their wheat output, according to a lot of sources in Russia, their wheat output is going to be roughly 50% of what it usually is. And if you add to that the fact that Russian fertilizer has been held off because of the sanctions from the United States, if you add to that the fact that we're at this point in the United States anticipating a lot of droughts and wildfires all throughout farming states in the Midwest of the United States, there's going to be a global food crisis. There's going to be food shortages. And this is an emergency. And our leaders should be convening an international meeting about how to resolve this food crisis. There's already been malnutrition-related deaths rising on the African continent due to the pandemic. But what's coming up is going to be a meltdown of the global food apparatus, food production, and our leaders don't seem concerned about it. It's shocking to me to watch, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and your leaders in Britain and, the leaders of NATO. They realize that their actions escalating with Russia are going to cause people to go hungry, not just around the world, but in the Western countries themselves. And they don't seem at all concerned about this. The USA has been waging economic warfare against Venezuela. They grabbed Alex Saab off of his airplane because he was trying to arrange, allegedly, for Iran to export food to Venezuela. The USA has been trying to starve the people of Venezuela, with sanctions. You look at what Joe Biden did in Afghanistan, where after the USA devastated the country with 20 years of occupation, then the USA pulled out and then froze all their funds and their money in the middle of an economic crisis, and Afghans were left to go hungry. Their money was taken from them. Joe Biden is very much the starvation president. That's what he's going to be remembered as. He is the president who presided over hunger. You remember when he was in the Obama administration, he and Obama became the first presidents in U.S. history to cut the amount of food assistance that goes to low-income families. No president before had ever reduced the amount of food assistance low-income families got through the food stamps program, the supplemental nutrition assistance program. But that was what Biden was when he was vice president. And now he's presiding over policies that are going to cause people to starve. It's shocking to me what's on the horizon due to their economic warfare, and they're not concerned about it.
Well, of course, everything in the economy is rationed. It's often a word that's used to frighten the horses. But normally in capitalist society, things are rationed by price. You can get food, but only if you can pay the ever-escalating price of it. What are we demanding here? It seems to me that we'll soon be in a position where we'll have to demand that the poor and the low-paid and even the lower part of the middle class are able to get their fair share of a declining amount of food. Seems incredible that we're having this conversation in 2022, but you're absolutely right. Russia's the biggest wheat producer and Ukraine is the second biggest. If Ukraine's harvest falls by half and we're not allowed to buy Russian wheat, ipso facto, you've got a food crisis.
Indeed, and our leaders seem to be fine with that, as long as it helps them wage their campaign to beat down Russia, to beat down China, to beat down Iran or Venezuela or Cuba or any independent country. I mean, the world is really led by a group of insane Malthusians. I mean, you read these documents where they're talking about overpopulation. There's just too many people in the world. They say we've got to reduce the population, reduce consumption, drive down living standards. There is a very maniacally evil group of people that sit at the top of the global capitalist system that have a very sinister agenda, and they don't seem to care about the consequences for average working people. They're thinking like monopolists. You know, when there's a storm, the big fish survive and the little fish go under and die. You know, you can talk about how Walmart, you know, we all know about Walmart in the United States. When they come to a town, they lower their prices and put their competitors out of business. And then the people who work at those smaller businesses lose their jobs. And then once they've gained control of the market, the prices rise up once again. And this pandemic has created an opportunity for the sinister monopolists that dominate global capitalism, the big oil bankers, you know, the folks on Silicon Valley, you know, Bill Gates and others, the Rockefellers. They sit at the center of a global financial system that is essentially trying to set the world on fire in order to secure their position. And it's utterly terrifying. And the interest of working people all over the world, as well as the interest of small business owners, as well as the interest of entire nations around the world, is against them. You know, and what they are doing, I mean, they're taking humanity on a suicide mission, essentially, in order to secure their position at the top of the hill. And there is a rising resistance to it in the West. There's a rising resistance to it around the world. And, you know, I mean, you talk about ImranKhan, I mean, he was targeted because he's somebody who has stood up for the people of Pakistan. He stood up for them, right? You know, and you talk about the Belt and Road Initiative and the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, there is a rising movement of resistance around the world trying to raise living standards, raise people out of poverty, have sustainable economic development, get beyond fossil fuels to a higher mode of energy, like fusion energy, right? Not reduce living standards to deal with climate change, but unleash human creativity and change our relationship with the environment. That alternative is what they're trying to suppress.
And yet, all of this is being presided over, at least in the Anglo-sphere, by two of the least convincing political leaders that anyone could ever have seen on the political stage. Boris Johnson bumbling from crisis to crisis, maybe even to oblivion in a few weeks' time when the local elections here take place, maybe overthrown in an internal Conservative Party coup. And in the United States, well, not to put too fine a point on it, I would not send your president out to buy a loaf, at least not expecting him to come back with the right bread or the right change. And yet these two powers, the United States and the United Kingdom, are behaving as if they were themselves politically and economically stable. How do you account for that?
At the end of the day, the emperor has no clothes, and the whole world knows it. And the crackdown that we're seeing and the silencing of dissident voices, anyone who dares not go along with this, that's rooted in their desperation. Because at the end of the day, they know that they, on some level, don't know what they're doing. On some level, the world is not going to go along with their agenda. When I see how they're just coming for everybody, anyone who dares question this is being targeted. Alice Walker, the novelist who wrote The Color Purple, is, you know, just a definitive African-American woman in American literature, has been banned from the Bay Area book fair. They're arguing that she must be anti-Semitic because she stands with the Palestinian people, and they have banned her from the Bay Area book fair. They're trying to silence one of the greatest voices in American literature right now. They are desperate to just silence and shut down any voice that points out what is actually going on, because at this point, people don't like the pending meltdown that they're planning. I mean, people are tired of these lockdowns. People are tired of the devastating economic impact that all of this has had. And they want justice, and they want to know that their kids are going to have food to eat, and that there's going to be, there's going to be roads in their neighborhood that aren't crumbling and falling apart. I mean, things that are just pretty basic are in the process of being denied to people in the United States. And pretty soon, something like the yellow vests in France is going to come to the United States. We don't know when, but it's only a matter of time. We saw the trucker convoy in Canada. We've seen Occupy Wall Street. We've seen Black Lives Matter. We've seen the Tea Party. There's going to be some kind of working class rebellion against these conditions being unleashed by our leaders right now. And when that comes, it's going to shake the country. And they know it's only a matter of time before it happens. They're trying to preempt it. They're trying to label it fascist, label it Nazi before it ever happens, because they know the working people are not going to take it anymore. And there is going to be a resistance from different sectors of U.S. society. The African-American community, they're going to make their voice heard. Low-income folks in rural states and Appalachia, they're going to make their voices heard. The people in the suburban neighborhoods that used to be prosperous throughout the United States and are now crumbling with empty, foreclosed homes, they're going to make their voices heard. The farmers are going to make their voices heard. The working people, the young people that are stuck in a cycle of low-wage, short-term service sector jobs, there's going to be an explosion coming, and they know it. They know this explosion is coming, and they're trying to preempt it with this woke cancel culture where every voice that dares speak up and say what's actually going on gets shut down and silenced.
Caleb Nopan, a privilege, as always, to talk with you. Thanks for coming on board the mother of all talk shows. Let me take a quick break.
Voice of Robert Maxwell, an arrogant man who used his publishing empire to gain him power and influence. But in this shocking account, never told before in this way, George Galloway recalls his first encounter with Maxwell.
It looked like a grizzly bear advancing towards me and punches me with these giant fists, like sides of ham, right in the solar plexus. So hard that I literally bent double.
Then, after George exposed Maxwell as a crook in Parliament, it was war.
Every one of his papers, the Daily Mirror, then following the Sunday Mirror, the Sunday People, the Daily Record, then a few days later the Sunday Mail in Scotland, even the European, which he then owned, all over Galloway.
Scottish Daily News journalist Ron Mackay was there.
Every night, presumably when he had a drink in him, he would boom over the tannoy about the cretins, the fools. The majority of the workforce believed that he would take it over and their jobs would be secure. But of course he didn't. He just disappeared.
And then...
The millionaire newspaper publisher Robert Maxwell is dead.
What really happened? Did Robert Maxwell jump?
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम सब देखने वालों को अस्सलाम वालेकुम। उम्मीद है आप सबको आवाज आ रही होगी। क्या कोई कमेंट्स में लिखा, कोई कमेंट के आवाज आ रही है? जी बहुत शुक्रिया। जी आवाज आ रही है, ठीक है। असल में ये लाइव फीड थी जॉर्ज की तरफ से, लेकिन मैनेजमेंट अंदाजा लगाना बड़ा ही मुश्किल है कि ये आखिर हुआ क्या, कैसे ये मिसमैनेजमेंट हो गई पीटीआई की आईटी टीम से, کہ وہ जॉर्ज यहाँ पे जॉर्ज के कनेक्शन हिसाब से बातचीत हो, लेकिन एट द 11th आवर उन्हें पता चला कि भाई अच्छा आज का टाइम था, वो कोई मिस मैनेजमेंट ऐसी हुई कि पीटीआई के ट्विटर अकाउंट पे भी कोई 1-2 हफ्ता पहले इस चीज़ के पोस्टर लगे हुए थे कि आज का टॉक शो का, लेकिन पता नहीं क्या कैसे उनसे मिस मैनेजमेंट हो गई, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि यहाँ नॉर्थ अमेरिका में या वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज़ में आप जो भी बात करते हो, आप जो भी वादा करते हो, उसे ऐसे ही पूरा करते हैं जिस तरह मुसलमानों के मतलब जो सच्चे मुसलमान हैं वो करते हैं, और हमारे मज़हब में भी ऐसे ही कहा गया कि वादा करो तो पूरा करो। तो ये कोई मिसमैनेजमेंट हुई है, पता नहीं ये क्या था, कैसे हुई। तो बहुत इंतज़ार किया मैंने खुद भी कि अभी इमरान साहब लाइन पे आ जाते हैं, क्या वो वॉइस वो वेब कैम से चैट होगी, क्या होगा, लेकिन उन्होंने दिया और कवर किया कि किसी तरीके से कनेक्शन हो जाए, और उन्होंने बताया भी कि डॉक्टर शहबाज गिल से बात हुई है और वो कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि उन्हें नहीं पता था ये सब कुछ होना है, लेकिन वो फिर भी उन्होंने कोशिश की। तो यकीनन उधर रात का टाइम है पाकिस्तान में, तो नहीं कर पाए होंगे या कनेक्शन। और एक और चीज़ का भी आप समझने का ख़तरा है कि ये इम्पोर्टेड गवर्नमेंट आई है, इन्होंने कोशिश की होगी कि उनके पाकिस्तान में इस्लामाबाद के जो इंटरनेट है उनको डाउन किया जाए ताकि ये चीज़ हो ना सके। तो मुझे यकीन है कि इसमें उनके खिलाफ कंस्पिरेंसी तो हर वक्त ही चलती रही है, और ये तो एक तमाशा लगा दिया पूरी वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज़ में, एक बेइज्जती कर दी है पाकिस्तान के इन लोगों ने, इन चोरों ने के केस ने, और सबको पता है। आप इंटरव्यू सुने, इवन हिलरी क्लिंटन का इंटरव्यू में देखा था, पता था, और वो इतने सालों पहले यही बता रही थी कि ये जो करप्ट लीड है, मॉब्स हैं, इनके ज़रिए हम कंट्रोल करते हैं। तो बहुत ही इन्होंने शर्म से सर हमारे झुका दिए हैं जो कुछ इन्होंने किया है। अच्छा खासा इलेक्शन के लिए जाने लगे थे हम सब लोग, तो बीच में इन्होंने फिर से करप्ट लोगों को उठा के सर पे मुसल्लत कर दिया। तो ये तो अजीब सी बात होगी, बजाय जॉर्ज के और जॉर्ज के साथ लाइव हो गया। लेकिन मैं बेसिकली मेरे लाइव होने का मतलब यही था कि आपको मैं बता दूं कि हुआ क्या है आखिर। ये इमरान खान के साथ जो ये आईपी सेशन था ये क्यों ना हो सका। अच्छा नहीं लगा, लेकिन आपके कमेंट्स में देख रहा हूँ इतना प्यार इमरान खान साहब के साथ मैंने नहीं देखा कि दुनिया में किसी लीडर की इतनी लीडर की पजीराई हुई हो। तो माशाल्लाह, क्योंकि उन बोलते हैं और जो उनका एक्शन है 2/3 ना होने के बावजूद उन्होंने वो काम कर दिए जो ये लोग 70 साल में नहीं कर सके। 70 सालों में तो ये उससे पहले वाले लोग भी वो काम नहीं कर सके जो इन्होंने कर दिखाया इमरान खान साहब ने। तो इसके अलावा चूंकि मैं देख रहा हूँ काफ़ी सारे लोग इस वक्त देख रहे हैं, तो मैं आपके साथ शेयर करता हूँ। जरा ये देखिए, जरा एक मिनट मुझे दीजिए। ये आजकल का हमारा जो शो बाज है ये उसकी बड़ी अच्छी तर्जुमानी की। आप भी देखिए, आप भी देखिए, पता लगेगा आपको इसकी हकीकत है जो कहता है बैगर्स कैन बी बैगर यूजर। ये मैं इसको प्ले करने लगा हूँ। चलिए देखिए, جی اس سے پہلے کہ
میں سارا سسٹم آف کرتا اور آپ کو بتاتا کہ کیا ہوا، تو میں نے سوچا میں لائیو آ کے آپ کو یہ بتاؤ کہ آخر ہوا کیا.
جی اب یہ دیکھیے
جی کمنٹس میں دیکھ رہا ہوں لکھا ہوا ہے کہ اے آر وائی کو انہوں نے بند کیا.
اے آر وائی کو اور جو سچائی کی رپورٹنگ
کر رہے تھے جو حق کے ساتھ تھے، سچ کے ساتھ تھے، ان لوگوں کے ساتھ انہوں نے اپنا رویہ کیسا رکھا. پہلے تو صحافی ایک کے ساتھ کچھ
کراچی کے
ناظم جو کہ ایک اور تھے ان کو ایون قتل کر دیا گیا اور ساری میڈیا صحافی کچھ بھی نہ ہوتی. اور یہاں پہ آپ اے آر وائی کے ساتھ کیا کر رہے ہیں، عمران ریاض کے ساتھ کیا کر رہے ہیں، صابر شاکر اور ان لوگوں کو بھی دھمکیاں دی جا رہی ہیں. لیکن اب وہ موم بتی مافیا، وہ ہیومن رائٹس والے، وہ صحافی کی آزادی والے، وہ کہاں آئی ہیں؟ کہیں پہ نہیں ہے.
تو یہ تو ایک طرح سے
پاکستان میں جو مافیا ہے انہوں نے رکھے گی دورہ معیار، جو کرپٹ لوگ ہیں، چور لوگ ہیں، ان کے لیے ایک چیز اور ایک قانون، اور جو عام انسان ہے، عام انسان
تو ہے ہی نہیں ہے.
کوئی وہ کسی نے ایک
روٹی بھی چرائی ہو
تو اسے وہ گھسیٹ کے پکڑ کے تھانے میں بند کر دیتے ہیں. اور یہاں پہ
پاؤنڈ پہ آ گئے
اور جواب کیا ملا جی، میں تو سیاست میں بزی تھا، مجھے نہیں پتا. 25 ارب دیا.
تو میں نے تو
کمنٹ بھی کیا انہیں. میں نے
ادب سے بات کرتا ہوں،
میں نے کہا حمزہ بھائی مجھے بھی اس کا ایڈریس دیں بندے کا جس نے آپ کے اکاؤنٹ میں 25 ارب ڈال دیے. تو بشمار پاکستان کے غریب لوگ ہیں جن کو پیسوں کی ضرورت ہے، علاج کی ضرورت ہے، تعلیم کی ضرورت ہے، کاروبار کی ضرورت ہے. تو کی ضرورت ہے، دے کا پتہ بتائیں جو اکاؤنٹوں میں 25 ارب ڈال جاتے ہیں. لیکن افسوس خیر
اب سارا مافیا ایک طرف ہے،
جس میں
عمران خان صاحب نے
کل پریس کانفرنس کر کے بتایا کہ جی
کھلی عدالت لگائیں اور
یہ جو ابھی
سازش والا کام
ہے جس کو سازش نہیں کہتے، مداخلت کرتے ہیں، اس کو انویسٹیگیٹ کریں.
کیا
انویسٹیگیٹ کرنا انہوں نے تو ہر ثبوت مٹانے کی کوشش کرنی ہے. اور ججز مزے کی بات ہے، کہنا نہیں چاہیے کیونکہ وہ توہین عدالت بھی آ جاتی ہے. لیکن
اکثر یہ دیکھا
گیا کہ ججز خود ان کو گائیڈ کرتے ہیں کہ آپ اس کو ایسے چلائیں، آپ اس طرح سے بچ سکتے ہیں، پھر ہم ایسے فیصلہ لکھ سکتے ہیں. تو اس طرح کے بھی
واقعات
دیکھے گئے ہیں، لیکن یہ ہے کہ پبلک میں یہ سامنے آتے نہیں ہیں.
تو لیٹس اللہ تعالیٰ بہتر کرے کہ
پاکستان کا جو فیوچر ہے اس طرح کے جو عمران خان جیسے نیک انسان ہے، جو
اللہ اور رسول کی
بات کرتے ہیں. آپ اس کی تقریر سنیں، اس کے جو بھی وہ افتتاح کرتا ہے، جہاں بھی وہ کیا ہے، اس نے ہمیشہ ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین، اگر عربی میں نہیں تو انہوں نے اردو میں ضرور پڑھنے. تیرے سوا کوئی معبود نہیں ہے اور ہمیں سیدھے راستے پہ رکھنا.
جبکہ اس کے مقابلے میں
کل اس شوباز نے ایک ڈیم پہ افتتاح کیا کرنا تھا، ایسی جا کے اپنی تختیاں لگاتی، جا کے اپنی
ٹوٹل
عمران خان کی نقل کر رہا تھا. کہیں سے عمران خان کی تقریر میں ایک ربط ہے، جب انگیج کرتے ہیں تو بڑے طریقے سے ترتیب سے باتوں کو لے کر چلتے ہیں، جس سے دل پہ امپیکٹ ہوتا ہے، جس سے آپ سمجھتے ہیں. اور نہ صرف یہ، جتنے موٹیویشنل اسپیکر آپ ان کو سنیں تو وہ یہی کہتے ہیں کہ جی اصل میں فلسفہ تو علامہ اقبال کا اور اللہ تعالیٰ کی بات یہ کہ خود کو پہچانو اور اللہ اس کی مدد کرتا ہے. تو فلسفہ یہی ہے. اور اسی طرح کی موٹیویشنل باتیں آپ کو عمران خان کی تقریر سے ملتی ہیں.
اب یہ شوباز نے کوئی رابطہ نہیں تھا. کبھی بات کر رہا تھا جی یہ پروجیکٹ
اپلیکیشن ہونی چاہیے تھرڈ پارٹی سے. وہ اس کے جو پروجیکٹ چل رہے ہیں آلریڈی، نہ تمہارے ان سے لینا نہ دینا، نہ تمہارے کانٹریکٹر، نہ تم نے ان کو ایوارڈ کیا. اور کہہ رہے جی تھرڈ پارٹی ایویلویشن ہونی چاہیے ان پروجیکٹس کی، تاکہ کوئی تیسرا بندہ اوپر آ کے بیٹھ جائے اور وہ دونوں سے پھر کنسلٹنٹ سے پیسے اٹھانا شروع کرتے کہ جی یہ چیز ٹھیک کرو، وہ چیز ٹھیک کرو. تو خیر
काफी दिल में है मैं अगर अच्छे सब्सक्राइबर आ जाते हैं तो मैं चाहूँगा कि लाइव सेशन किए जाए आपके साथ और जो मुल्की हालात हैं उन पे बातचीत करना और शोबाज की जो कारस्तानियाँ हैं उनके ऊपर बात की जाए। कमेंट्स में लिख के बताइए क्या आवाज़ नहीं आ रही। ओह सॉरी जी कुछ गड़बड़ चल रही थी। क्या आवाज़ ठीक आ रही है आपको? ओके ठीक है। उम्मीद है अब इको नहीं आ रही होगी। जी का आवाज़ ठीक कर दी है, उम्मीद अब नहीं आ रही होगी। पीट जी बात कर रहा हूँ मैं। जी सना खान ठीक है जी। उस्मान मुमताज़ जी ठीक है जी। सॉरी मैं माफ़ी चाहता हूँ, आवाज़ इको का प्रॉब्लम आ रहा था। तो बहुत शुक्रिया आप लोगों ने ज्वाइन किया। एक बार फिर मैं बताता चलूँ कि कुछ बातें मैं कर रहा था। एक तो इस बारे में इन्होंने टाइम लिया हुआ था, पीटीआई से हुई थी, लेकिन वहाँ से पता नहीं क्या मसला इस्लामाबाद से पीटीआई की जो टीम थी उनकी तरफ से कि उन्हें पता ही नहीं था। और वो डॉक्टर शहबाज गिल से भी बात की इन्होंने, जॉर्ज ने, और बताया कि जी वो कोशिश करेंगे कि चूँकि वहाँ पे रात का टाइम है तो क्या पता कि वहाँ से मतलब कोशिश की उन्होंने, लेकिन क्या पता कि उनकी आईटी टीम इस वक्त अवेलेबल ना हो। कुछ वो उनके कोई आईटी एक्सपर्ट्स जिनसे इमरान खान साहब के, वो लाहौर और कराची से भी इकट्ठे होते हैं जब उन्होंने कोई ऐसा लाइव सेशन करना हो। तो उनकी आईटी टीम में भी अवेलेबल नहीं थी। कोशिश की उन्होंने लेकिन कुछ बन नहीं पाया। और प्लस मुझे जो ख़तरा है वो इस बात का है कि इस इम्पोर्टेड गवर्नमेंट ने यकीनन कोई जैमर्स वगैरह लगा के कुछ ऐसा करके कुछ इंटरनेट को डाउन किया होगा ताकि खान साहब जॉर्ज से बात ना कर सकें। तो मुझे ज़्यादा इसी बात का ख़तरा है कि जॉर्ज कहीं उनसे बात ना कर सके हों। खैर, तो इसलिए मैंने तो ज़रूरी है कि आपको स्क्रीन बताओ क्या हुआ। अब इमरान खान साहब सब बहुत प्यार करते हैं, बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त लीडर है। इस लीडर ने देखें कोरोना के बावजूद मुल्क को मुश्किलात से निकाला। न सिर्फ मुश्किलात से निकाला, जीडीपी इतना हाई कभी हिस्ट्री में नहीं आया पाकिस्तान का, जो भी आने लग गया। वर्ल्ड बैंक की रिपोर्ट्स और दूसरी मूडी रिपोर्ट्स सारी पॉजिटिव इंडिकेटर्स के साथ ही आ रही थी, लेकिन चोर गवर्नमेंट को ये मंजूर ना था, क्योंकि इमरान खान साहब अगर 5 साल भी मुकम्मल कर लेते, हालांकि उनके पास 2/3 तो नहीं थी, लेकिन फिर भी उन्होंने घसीट कर इन सारे एमएनएस को और ब्लैकमेलिंग से बचते बचाते अब अच्छे काम कर दिखाए। लेकिन इस लोगों को इनको एक आंख नहीं बार करने लग जाए और इमरान खान साहब का नाम ऐसे चमकने लग जाए, ना सिर्फ पाकिस्तान में बल्कि पूरी दुनिया में जितने मुसलमान मुल्क हैं उन्होंने एक बार नहीं 2 बार इकट्ठा कर दिया। और आप देखिए कि मीडिया में कहीं ये बात नहीं आ रही कि जो इस्लामी मुल्क थे वहाँ पर पाकिस्तान के कौमी तराने बजाए गए और जुम्मा के वाज में इमरान खान साहब के लिए दुआएं की गई और उनका शुक्रिया अदा किया गया। इतना प्यार मुस्लिम दुनिया से इमरान खान साहब को मिला। इमरान खान साहब चोर लोग ये अपने ही लीडर से क्या कर रहे हैं, बजाय के बनते उसको उतार के रख दिया और दिन रात उनको परेशान करके रखा। तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा दुख हुआ। अब अंदाज़ा होता है इस बात का कि सुना करते थे कि जब भट्टो को फांसी दी गई तो लोगों ने अपने आप को आग लगाई और सुसाइड किया लोगों ने, इस कदर उनके अंदर गम गुस्सा था। तो हम समझ सकते हैं बिल्कुल ऐसा ही ऐसे इमोशंस ही होते हैं जब काफ़ी आप अपनी आंखों से देखते हैं। और एक और बात आपको बताता चलूं, जब इमरान खान साहब का वो ट्विटर स्पेस पे लोगों के साथ, तो लाखों लोगों ने 10 लाख कोई 15 लाख लोग उन्होंने लाइव उसको उनके साथ अटेंड किया। अब ये तो वो लोग अटेंड किया, वो लोग लेकिन मीडिया से, कुछ यूट्यूब से, कुछ इंस्टाग्राम से वो भी देख रहे थे। अगर उन सबको भी काउंट करें तो ये बात करोड़ों तक जाएगी। खैर, और दूसरी तरफ जब इमरान खान साहब ट्विटर स्पेस पे लोगों से बातचीत कर रहे थे और दूसरी तरफ बुलाव जो कहीं से भी ना वो बट्टो है ना उसके करीब तक पहुंच सकता है, सरदारी जिसको उर्फ आम में पिल्लो रानी कहते हैं, वो मुलाकात करी थी शहबाज शरीफ से और दोनों मिलके प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे थे। और प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में आप उनकी टेबल पे जितने पाकिस्तानी थे, लेकिन नहीं देखा। सिर्फ 500 लोग, वो भी कोई इनका अपना जियो चैनल था जिस पे ये नून लीग खुद ही देख रहे होंगे, ये खुद जो इनके दिलों का वज़ीर आज़म है, जो मुल्क से वज़ीर आज़म है, भाग का आज़म सानी कहते हैं, जो चोरी करके जवाब नहीं दे सका और मुल्क से भाग गया। और उसको नेल्सन मंडेला कहते हैं। नेल्सन मंडेला ने तकरीबन 30 साल गुजारे और ये वाला नज़ारे नेल्सन गुजार सका जेल में और भाग गया। और देखें, इसको अदालतों इतनी बार लिखे हुए सवाल दिए कि बता दो जायदादें कैसे ली, लिख के सवाल दिए। कहाँ होता है कि दुनिया में कहीं नहीं होता कि आप अदालत 100 सवाल लिख के दे, 114 सवाल लिख के 114 दे रही है, आप तैयार करके ले आए ताकि आपकी स्टेटमेंट ले ली जाए, लेकिन कोई जवाब नहीं। लिखे हुए सवाल, वकीलों की टीम हर तरह की मौजूद, जजेस खुद मौजूद, लेकिन इस डिपार्टमेंट कैसे बना लिए। खैर, जी बिल्कुल कौसर रईस साहब फरमा रही हैं जी, ये सब ट्रेटर्स हैं, मुल्क दुश्मन है, चोर है, आम वाम का इनको कोई भी एहसास नहीं है। शहबाज खान जी, इमरान खान जिंदाबाद जी, इमरान जी, थैंक यू, ग्रेट लीडर इमरान खान। अख्तर मुनीर आप भी कह रहे हैं ग्रेट लीडर, थैंक यू। समी खान भी थैंक यू। राशिदा मसूद, कालिम खान, आयशा, ओपल जी, जाज खान, बहुत शुक्रिया। आप सब लोगों का बहुत शुक्रिया जिन्होंने चैनल को सब्सक्राइब किया है। सब लोगों का से शुक्रिया। मैं यही चाहता हूँ खान साहब की आवाज़ बने और खान साहब की आवाज़ हमारी आवाज़ बने और हम सब कुछ ऐसा करें कि ये चोर लोग मजबूर हो जाएं कि इमरान खान साहब को खुद अपने सबको हाथ अपने ओहदे पे वापस फाइज करवाएं। ना सिर्फ ये, बल्कि मैं चाहूँगा, मेरी दुआ है कि किसी तरीके से पाकिस्तान में इमरान खान साहब सदारती निज़ाम लाए, तब इन चोर MNAs MPAs की ज़रूरत ही ना पड़े। वो उनके इख्तियार में होगा, वो जो कुछ करना चाहें कर सकते हैं। क्या आवाज़ नहीं आ रही? एक कमेंट आया जिसमें आप कह रहे हैं कि आवाज़ नहीं आ रही। प्लीज़ बताइए कमेंट्स में क्या आवाज़ आ रही है आपको? ये जी, पॉल के नाम प्लानिंग के अलावा मुझे तो इसमें साजिश, फिर वही कहेंगे साजिश, फिर मुझे इसमें कोई मुदाखलत लग रही है की है। क्या उन्होंने के खान साहब की ये वाली लाइव कवरेज ना हो सके, तो मुझे इस पे भी डाउट है, क्योंकि मतलब ये मीडिया का दौर है, कंफर्मेशन हर तरह से होती है। और इसने ट्विटर अकाउंट पे ट्विटर 24 अप्रैल को होगी जॉर्ज से, लेकिन मुझे शक है ये कुछ ज़रूर इसमें سازش نہیں تو مداخلت ہوئی ہے. آواز صاف نہیں. اب بتائیے کیا آواز صاف ہے؟ جی شکریہ عبدالباسط. کیونکہ ہم سب دکھی ہیں جو کچھ ہوا. چیزیں یقین کریں خان صاحب نے جو پتے شو کیے تھے کہ ایک طرف سے انہوں نے تحریک عدم اعتماد کو قلعدم قرار دے دیا اسپیکر نے، اور اسپیکر انہوں نے جب وہ اسمبلیاں توڑ دیں تو کیا خوبصورت کھیل کھیلا تھا انہوں نے. لیکن اگر ججز بیچ میں اپنا لچ نہ تلتے، یعنی بیچ میں انٹرفیئر نہ کرتے، تو اس وقت ملک نئے الیکشنز کی طرف جا رہا ہوتا. اور الیکشنز اوورسیز پاکستانی اور جو الیکٹرانک ووٹنگ مشین ہے EVM اس کے اوپر ہو رہے ہوتے. اس کے یہی تھی کہ ہم آئیں اور EVM کو ختم کریں اور اوورسیز پاکستانی کا ووٹ بھی ختم کریں، تاکہ یہ پھر سے ٹھپے لگائیں، پھر سے یہ کرپشن چال کریں، اور پھر سے یہی چہرے، اور پھر سے تو ان کے لیے گالی ہے لیکن تو ان کے لیے پھر سے پاکستان کے لیے یہی ذلیل نظام جو یہ پھر سے دوبارہ آنے کے لیے کر رہے تھے. اب لیٹس سی، آرمی کا بھی بالکل کردار ہے اس میں. آرمی کو بھی چاہیے کہ حق اور سچ کے ساتھ کھڑے ہوں، اور ان کو بھی چاہیے امریکہ سے نہ ڈریں. اگر پوری قوم 22 کروڑ کی عوام اکٹھی ہے تو اس کے آگے کوئی بھی کچھ نہیں کر سکتا. تو جیسی عوام سڑکوں پہ نکلی ہے، اس لیے شیخ رشید صاحب کا بیان بڑا قابل غور ہے. ٹھیک کر لو غلطی کو، ٹھیک کر لو ورنہ شروع جائے. خانہ جنگی تو نہیں ہونی چاہیے، کیونکہ اپنا ہی پاکستان ہے، اپنے ہی ملک ہے، اپنے ہی ہمارے پراپرٹی ہمارے ہی ہیں، ادارے بھی ہمارے ہیں. جو اندر کرپٹ لوگ بیٹھے ہیں، جو دوغلے ہیں، جو مافیاز کے ساتھ ملے ہوئے ہیں یا جو خود مافیا بن کے بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں، ان کو ضرور عوام کو آڑے ہاتھوں لینا چاہیے. اور اگر یہ جو عدلیہ ہے یہ اگر حق کا ساتھ نہیں دے گی تو عوام کو اپنے ہاتھوں سے لگانی چاہیے، اور ان مافیاز کو وہ سبق سکھانا چاہیے کہ یہ دوبارہ یہ حرکت کبھی زندگی میں نہ کر سکیں، اور پاکستان کے ساتھ کھیلنا بھی بند کر. جی عمران خان صاحب کی محبت ہے کہ حالانکہ جی احمد جٹ پوچھ رہے میں ایکچولی شو تو جارج کا شو تھا، جارج کا کنیکشن سے نہیں ہو سکا، تو اس لیے میں نے آپ کو صرف آ کر بتانا تھا کہ بھئی انفارچونیٹلی ہم آج خان صاحب کو نہیں دیکھ سکے, نہیں سن سکے, اور ان کا رابطہ نہیں ہو سکا جارج کے ساتھ. تو بس یہ بتانے کے لیے میں آیا تھا. لیکن اوپل جیسے بار بار اب اسمائلی فیس بھیج رہے ہیں فنی والا, تو بس کچھ ایسا ہی سمجھ لیں. لیکن میں نے یہ ہے کہ تھوڑی اپنے دل کی سسٹم میرا پراپر سیٹ اپ نہیں تھا. بس آل میں کوشش کروں گا کہ آپ سے دوبارہ اگر کبھی چیٹ کرنے کا موقع ملے تو آپ کے ساتھ پراپر سیٹ اپ کے ساتھ آواز کے ساتھ روبرو ہوں گا, تاکہ آپ سے لائیو بات بھی کی جا سکے. اور اس چینل پہ ہماری کوشش ہے کہ ہم خان صاحب کے جلسے اور ان کی تقریریں کے ساتھ دیں, اور صاف ستھری تصویر کے ساتھ. صاف ستھری تصویر مینس آپ جب اب چینلز کے دیکھتے ہیں جو مین سٹریم میڈیا ہے, جیسے ARY یا باقی چینلز ہیں, تو ان کے اشتہار یا وہ تصویر کو بہت چھوٹا کر کے دکھاتے ہیں, جس سے مجھے خود دیکھنے میں پرابلم ہوتی ہے کہ آپ پورا ویو دیکھنا چاہتے ہیں, پورا اس کا کہ پوری اسکرین دیکھنا چاہتے ہیں, لیکن وہ اسکرین کو اتنا چھوٹا کر دیتے ہیں جس وجہ سے مجھے بہت زیادہ مسئلہ ہوتا ہے. تو اس لیے پھر ہم نے لائیو اسٹریمنگ کا کام شروع کیا, تاکہ ہم پورا اور اچھا ویو دکھا سکیں اور بہتر سے بہتر لائیو کوریج کر سکیں. تو میری حوصلہ افزائی کے لیے پلیز چینل کو سبسکرائب ضرور کیجیے. جی راشدہ, بہت شکریہ آپ کا. راشدہ مسعود کہہ رہی ہیں کہ آپ نے سبسکرائب کیا ہوا, بہت شکریہ. اور تاکہ زیادہ سے زیادہ سبسکرائبر ہوں تو آپ زیادہ لوگوں سے بات چیت بھی ہو سکے, اور زیادہ لوگ لائیو کوریج سے مستفید ہو سکیں, کیونکہ بہت سے لوگ ڈھونڈ رہے ہوتے ہیں کہ لوگ ڈھونڈ کے دکھا رہا ہے کس چینل پہ اچھی تصویر آ رہی ہے. نہیں, یہ فیک چینل نہیں ہے. اس پہ لائیو جارج کی بات چلائی گئی ہے, اور اگر یہ لائیو نہ ہوتی تو اس طرح مجھے بیچ میں آ کے نہ بتانا پڑتا کہ بھئی کیا جارج کے ساتھ بات نہیں ہو سکی. جی اوپل, آپ کچھ غصے میں لگ رہے ہیں. جی امپورٹڈ حکومت نامنظور. جیو کیا بات کریں, جیو سب سے پہلا چینل تھا جو جب پاکستان میں پرائیویٹ میڈیا چینلز آئے, اور بدقسمتی دیکھیے وہ وداروں کے ساتھ ملا ہوا ہے, اور کیا باتیں کر رہا ہے وہ. ٹوٹلی مافیاز کے کنٹرول میں, اور بلکہ مافیاز ہی ہیں اس کو چلانے والے بھی. نہیں آئرن ایسی بات نہیں ہے, چینل پہ دیکھ لیں. ہماری کوشش ہوتی ہے کہ جو بھی انٹرویوز ہیں عمران خان کے, اور لائیو آج کل جو اسٹریمنگ چل رہی تھی تو اس کو لائیو ہوتی ہے. چلیں اس وقت آپ سے اجازت دیتے ہیں. جو پاکستان میں دیکھتے ہیں, جو دیکھنے والی بات کا تقریباً 1 بج چکا ہے, تو اپنا بہت خیال رکھیے گا. جی سہیل پوچھ رہے ہیں عمران خان صاحب کہاں ہیں. وہ نہیں آ سکے کیونکہ وہ کچھ مس مینجمنٹ ہوئی ہے جارج کے اور PTI کے میڈیا ٹیم کے درمیان میں, تو وہ نہیں آ سکے. لیکن دعا کرتے ہیں اللہ تعالیٰ عمران خان صاحب کو بحفاظت رکھے, اور انہیں نیک مقصد میں کامیاب رکھے. وہ پوری قوم کے لیے رہبر ہے, رہنما ہے, اور پاکستان کو ثابت کیا انہوں نے 3 سال میں. وہ کہاں سے پاکستان کو, حالانکہ کرونا اور دنیا بھر میں مہنگائی موجود تھی, لیکن کے لیے بہت کچھ کیا. تو ان کو خراج تحسین پیش کرتے ہیں, اور بہت زیادہ دعائیں کرتے ہیں. رمضان کا پاک مہینہ چل رہا ہے, اس میں تو ہم دعا کرتے ہیں اللہ تعالیٰ عمران خان کو کامیابیاں عطا فرمائے, اور پھر سے پرائم منسٹر بنائے میجورٹی کے ساتھ. 2/3 بھی نہیں بلکہ 3/3 پوری کی پوری میجورٹی عمران خان صاحب کی ہو, تاکہ وہ اپنے فیصلے کر سکیں اور پھر وہ احتساب بہت ہی جلد نپٹا دیں گے. اور جو وہ احتساب کرنا چاہ رہے تھے اس کے لیے قانون بنانے تھے, وہ قانون نہیں بنا سکتے تھے, کیوں نہیں بنا سکتے نہیں تھی کہ وہ پوری میجورٹی کے ساتھ واپس آئے اور جتنے بھی پاکستان کے ادارے ہیں وہ ان کا ساتھ دیں. اللہ تعالیٰ کیفر کے اللہ تعالیٰ اور جو انہوں نے غریب عوام کے ساتھ ظلم کیا ہے, اللہ تعالیٰ ان سے ظلم کا حساب لے اور انہیں ہدایت بھی دے جو بھی خلاف پاکستان کے کام کر رہے ہیں. تو کے ساتھ آپ سے انشاءاللہ نیکسٹ جو بھی عمران خان صاحب کی سٹریمنگ ہوگی, انٹرویو ہوگا یا جو بھی ان کا جلسہ ہوگا اس کی لائیو کوریج کوشش کریں گے ہم آپ تک پہنچائیں. تو آپ سب دوستوں کا, بہنوں بھائیوں کا شکریہ, جتنے بھی بزرگ دیکھ رہے ہیں, بچے دیکھ رہے ہیں, بہن بھائی دیکھ رہے ہیں, سب کو بہت سی دعائیں. اللہ تعالیٰ ہم سب کو ہمارے نیک مقصد میں کامیاب کریں, دنیا اور آخرت میں بھی. ہم دنیا اور آخرت میں بہت اجازت. انشاءاللہ کمیونٹی پیج پہ آپ کو میسیج سینڈ کر دوں گا کہ جب بھی دوبارہ لائیو ہونا ہے, یا اگر آپ کی ریکویسٹ آئے کہ اگر آپ لائیو سننا چاہتے ہیں ہمیں تو بھی. بہت زیادہ خیال رکھیے گا. اللہ تعالیٰ پاکستان کو زندہ باد رکھے, عمران خان صاحب کو زندہ باد رکھے. اللہ حافظ.